Hi everyone, Gareth here. Just to let you know that if you would like to support the production of the Music Room podcast, you can. Just head to musicroompodcast.uk/support or click the link in the show notes. Okay, on with the show. Welcome to the Music Room. This time in the Music Room.
There's a teacher called Keith Matthews who conducted the orchestra, who went on to teach me A-level music at Sixth Form College, and he was brilliant. He was just a force of nature and one of those teachers you hope you'll get, you know. Looking back, he knew so much, he was so clever and full of knowledge, and yet he just sort of let you do your thing and didn't sort of try and confine you.
Hello and welcome to The Music Room, the show where we hear personal stories of inspiration from professional composers, songwriters and musicians. I've chatted with a whole variety of brilliant people since I started this in 2022. So do go and dip into previous episodes. They're free to listen to, and I'm sure the items and advice left by guests in The Music Room will be of use to you somehow. You can find everything via musicroom.community. Type that in your browser. A massive thank you to my guests, by the way. I say this a lot, but I really mean it. I'm full of gratitude for your time, your stories, and your experience. And I know our dear listeners, the Music Room community, are too. So, to this episode's guest, Nick Foster is a multiple BAFTA-winning composer of music for television, film, and games. And I had the pleasure of chatting with him about his recent work, like the movie musical Greatest Days, based on the music of Take That, as well as hearing about how it all started for him. Did you know he used to be a producer? No, me neither. That's coming up. But first, music stories. In the first of a series of blog posts leading up to the Global Creator Summit on the 20th of September, Ivors Academy board member and Music Room guest Kevin Sargent shares his thoughts on the importance of human creativity in a world where AI-generated music is becoming more common and questions about the use of AI are increasing in importance. You can see the article by going to ivorsacademy.com/news. Next, I asked the Music Room community group on Facebook, how do you celebrate hitting a new personal or professional milestone? Tricky one this, isn't it? David, with me, it really is about the journey rather than the destination, even though I work fast to finish projects. Fair enough. Helen, I'm still celebrating, one of those people. Good stuff. Don't go changing, Helen. Marco, despite being Italian, I just do that moderately. How would an Italian celebrate hitting a new personal or professional milestone, I wonder? Peter, dinner with the family. How lovely. Yes, it's important to mark those milestones, isn't it? Rod, by carrying on and trying to be better next time. Yeah, that's not really celebrating, is it, Rod? So celebrating a milestone by starting another one. Interesting. Okay, Ruben says, getting to erase things off my enormous work-in-progress whiteboard is immensely satisfying. Isn't it just? Also works for spreadsheets. Thank you, everybody in the Music Room Facebook community. Nick Foster is a multi-BAFTA-winning composer of music for television, film and games based at Air Studios in London. Recent work includes In My Skin, which won Best Drama at both the BAFTAs and the RTS Awards 2022, All or Nothing, Arsenal for Amazon Prime, and Coky Giedroyc's movie musical based on the songs of Take That, Greatest Days. He's also known for his work on the Derren Brown specials for Netflix and Channel 4, and ITV's long-running animated series Thunderbirds Are Go, on which Nick collaborated with brother Ben Foster, and for which they were BAFTA, MAS and BAA nominated. I could go on for a really long time to list what Nick's achieved, but I'll leave some for him to explain. If you're ready then, here we go. Nick Foster, composer,
Hello.
Welcome to the Music Room.
Thank you, Gareth. Hello, nice to be here. Nice to be here. It's a very nice room.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Very pleasant. Very relaxing.
Yeah, all are welcome. And
Good.
how are you today? Let's start with that.
Good day. I'm good. Today it's 12:14 and I've done some writing and it feels like it's been productive. So that's good. It's been
excellent.
a good day.
Is that
so
writing
far.
for something, or is that writing just for the sake of it?
It's, to be honest, it's always writing for something. I should be doing it just for the sake of it, but there's always something to write for, which is great.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I'm in the middle of well, I'm doing a show with my friend Ollie Julian for Apple called Horse Space. I don't think it'll be called that in the end, but it's about Dick Turpin. It's great. So
Oh,
it's a
wow.
bit of that, and
Is that a drama?
it's it's a dramatic comedy. It's really funny.
Oh,
It's really funny. So we're doing that, and I've also got this documentary which is very different, but it's period as well. It's about Shakespeare. So I
oh,
actually was just doing a little bit of that.
wow. That's a
Yeah.
couple of figures from history, isn't it? I mean, Dick
Yes,
Turpin
it's
and
not
Shakespeare.
the other thing's about a stalker that I'm doing. So and that's
Ah,
been I'm really, there's been a lot of period stuff lately. I don't know why. There's been a fair amount of it. Lots of sort of grimy olden days scenes and sort of peasants in rags and sort of
are you
things like
going
that.
method on the music, or are you taking the Peaky Blinders approach and
Well, of
doing
course,
something
people won't be
contemporary?
able to see, but I am dressed entirely in rags
You are,
today.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, yes, I think I am
Triangular hat,
pretty
really
method.
finishes
And the
off.
triangular hat, I think, a
Yeah.
nice touch. Yeah.
Nice one. So in your intro there, I've described your TV work, but you've also worked on movies. The most recent of which is obviously the Take That musical Greatest Days. How
Yes.
did that come about? And what was it like to take on someone else's music?
It was brilliant, that one. It was
Uh,
great.
it did look
Um,
fun.
I'd worked because I was a record producer originally. And I produced stuff for Gary back in the day, but that was just a lovely coincidence. And I think he was enthused when he saw it was, I was involved. But actually, it came through Ollie Julian, who I collaborated with on it. He'd worked with the director, Coky Giedroyc, before on her previous film. And so then the idea came up from him of us doing it as a team. And it was because it was sort of felt like it was in both our wheelhouses, I think, with my pop background.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was brilliant. It was a lovely thing to do, and I'm proud of it.
It's funny how these things happen, isn't it? You're saying through Ollie and just because of something else. And,
Mm,
stars there's a lot of stars aligning, isn't there, in the industry?
yeah, that felt like one of them, to be honest, because of those sort of specifics. It felt kind of perfect. But then again, that was, I think we did a sort of, I guess it was a pitch. We did Pray. We did a version of Pray in 2020, and it
Wow.
took because of COVID, it was on, and then it was off for 6 months, and it was off for a year, and then it got remounted, and it was so that was a long gestation period, and it took quite a while to do because we had 16 songs, I think, something like that, and it
Wow.
was new versions of all the songs, and they were quite different. We did a sort of Busby Berkeley version of Shine, and we did a very stripped back version of Million Love Songs and Back for Good, and we did sort of a huge dance number on Pray, and so they were all very, very different, I think, but hopefully recognizably the same songs. I think they
Yeah.
were. They were.
Yeah. Oh, I look forward to seeing that. And I saw on your Instagram on the premiere, you had your whole team around you for that. That's a really lovely thing to
Yeah.
see, to celebrate
Oh, well, that
together.
was lovely. Yeah, because there were a lot of us involved in that, and we had um, Ethan Jeffrey, Ben Burrows, and we had um, Sam Thompson and my brother Ben Foster orchestrating. We had C. Cruikshank was mixing it and all over the recording, which was fantastic. And there's more people that I probably haven't mentioned, but it was
Well, lots.
it was a team
It was a
effort,
big
that one,
crowd,
because
big
it's
crowd.
it was a big crowd, and Jenna was there, Jenna Fenceman, my agent, who's ace. So it was nice to be able to do that. You don't get a premiere, really, do you? I've never done something with a Leicester Square premiere before. That was kind of
No,
fun.
you've
That
made
was
it, Nick. You're there.
that felt like I'd made it.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
living the life now.
Let
That's it.
me
Remember us little people.
Sure, I'll do my best. What's your name? Sorry.
Who are you? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, you've worked on TV, film, gaming scores. I mean, I'll
Mm.
put your IMDb link in the show notes. Is there something that you haven't done that you feel like you need to, or have a burning desire to, or are you happy? And trigger alert here, if your music superpowers were taken away tomorrow, that
Was
you'd be satisfied you've done everything you've always ever wanted to do.
I No, I'm just starting. I feel like I'm just starting. I've been doing it for ages, but because I've sort of gone through different things. Like I made pop records, then I did adverts, then I did entertainment shows, and then I did, so I've done different things. And now it feels like I'm still, I've got a long way to go. But I think that's okay. I think that's healthy. I'm sure. I don't know if John Williams feels like he's done it all. I hope he does, because he deserves it, doesn't he?
Yeah. There's got to be a point, isn't there? And it's got to be in your 90s. That you think,
if it's not in your 90s, then when? But I think most people who are doing stuff still have this weird dance of insecurity, and it hopefully spurs you on and doesn't make you feel terrible. I think it's good to be, to be hungry and to be enthused. If you're not,
that's it. Yeah, it's the hunger, point, isn't it? To be excited by things. Absolutely.
There's lots to be done, and there's lots around. I've been doing more drama and documentaries in the last sort of 3 years, I'd say, something like that, and that's been it's been brilliant. It feels like it's been a turn. And it feels like a turn. It feels like it's slightly starting again, because I'm not doing entertainment things I was doing before. I don't do commercials anymore. So it's just sort of, it feels like a good turn, and it feels like you need to sort of freshen up and learn new stuff, and that's really great.
Yeah. So documentaries and dramas, you think that there's a lot there to dig down?
There's a lot there, and comedy too. It's scripted or storytelling stuff. And I mean, docs feel really exciting in that way at the moment. Seems to be a lot of stuff being made. It's funny. I shouldn't sound surprised as if it were not the equal of drama, but I think in terms of narrative docs, it really feels like a golden time.
Absolutely wonderful. So, are we ready to go back in time?
Yes, please.
Let's find out how it all began when Nick.
Quite a long way.
Lovely. So, here we are.
Taking us right
back in time. How did it all start for you, Nick? What were your first memories of music to start with?
My first memories of music would be I grew up in a house. My mum's a music teacher. My dad was passionate about music and loved it and played it very loudly from records.
What kind of styles was he into?
Classical music for Dad. He loved Haydn, and he loved Wagner, and he loved Dvorak and things like that. So there's a lot of that around. Mum is more eclectic, I suspect. She'd been a singer. She's a music teacher, and then a vicar. But at the time, she was a music teacher, and so we had a piano, and so we learned, and so we sort of were bashing on the piano young, and we had piano lessons young. I'm talking because me and my brother Ben, who's quite close in age, so we
and still a great partnership.
And still a great partnership. That's nice of you to say. Thank you. And so we were always making up tunes, I think, as kids. And then it was a bit formalized quite young, because I remember Mum encouraging us to write songs and carols and stuff. So it was slightly formalized, but we still did make up things. And then we used to put on plays and write the music, write the tunes for the plays. And I remember also having instrumentals. Like there was the B-side to the Doctor Who theme by Peter Howell was a thing called The Astronauts. Just a brilliant bit of instrumental electronica. It's amazing. And I remember making up lyrics to that, and Ben and I sang a sort of pop song on the back of it, because you couldn't do that at the time. And I was, whatever I was at that age, pretty young, 7 or 6 or something like that. No, maybe 7. And you couldn't do something that sounded like Peter Howell in the BBC Radiophonic Workshop. You couldn't. So wasn't it great to add something to that and to sort of write on top of that? And it's funny, I was only thinking about this morning. That's as distinct from writing stuff on the piano, which I did. But maybe that was a sort of hint at what I was going to be doing 10 years later, making records, because it was the fascination of doing something that wasn't just producible on a piano or on one instrument. It was what you could do in these magic places, studios, which I didn't really know about then, but I probably was starting to sort of think about. I was fascinated by radio stations when I was a kid as well, and that was sort of
Well, it's not.
Again, studios,
Yeah.
it's a thing.
So aside from that, were you being introduced to instruments? Were you having lessons? Anything like that?
Yeah, I started piano lessons very young, like some kids do, and I was probably 4, might have been, yeah, I think I was 4. I was 4 because I did my grade 1 when I was 5. It's funny looking back. I've got nephews who are turning out to be brilliant musicians, and I love the way they seem to be coming to it naturally. But at the same time, I look back and think, well, I mean, look what I got from doing my grades and doing scales and doing all that. It wasn't the most fun bit of my interaction with music, but it was pretty helpful.
Yeah,
It was
yeah. So
pretty
that
good.
was, I guess, your parents recognizing something in you and going,
Yeah,
"We think
I
you should
think
do
so.
this." Yeah.
Yeah. And also it's just what we did. And as I say, my brother and I both did it because it's just what we did. We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
thought that's what you did. And so it was piano. And then I actually asked to play the cello because I was precocious. I saw my dad used to tell me I saw Jacqueline Dupre on the telly. I don't know if that's true. But anyway, I was playing the cello when I was about 7, making a terrible racket, which never got that much better.
Ditto,
and so
actually.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go.
But mine was to get out of geography lessons.
Well, mine got me
And
out of games, so
there we
it
go.
works. It works,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah. And I only did it really because my brother was learning the cello. But
Really?
my first passion was the piano, but
Yeah, me
I
too.
didn't learn it until, I think I didn't have lessons until I was 10. So it was kind of
That's
the other way
interesting.
round a little
Yeah,
bit.
because I always think the piano is a great starter. It's a great grounding. It's a great
Yeah.
understanding
Well, it's like an orchestra on a keyboard, isn't it?
you've got your left hand, and it's fantastic. You've got everything there. The only other one, I guess, being the guitar, which I don't really play, and I wish I did, because I think it gives you another language slightly when you're
Yeah.
writing.
But then as a cellist, it's not too far away from.
Yeah, but you're not gonna strum on the cello. You're not gonna sort of. It's slightly different. I love the cello.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful instrument, but it feels, I don't know, slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very lyrical. Lyrical
Exactly.
instrument.
It's
I
great
think
and
I was
melodic.
talking about this with someone else actually, and the register of the cello I think is one of the closest things to the human voice almost. So
Lovely point. Yeah.
yeah, so it does feel very like someone singing in a way.
And when you think of some of the greatest things written for cello, they're huge tunes, they're huge soaring melodies, and that's a lovely notion.
Bangers.
Yeah. Bangers for cello.
Bangers for cello.
Yeah.
The new manuscript book.
I think it's a hit in the making.
Yeah.
Compilation in the making.
Nice one. So you're learning the piano, you're learning the cello. A lot of my guests seem to hit high school or secondary school, and things slightly change. They join orchestras, and they're involved in more organized groups and veer off their way to the more poppy side of things. How did it go for you a bit later on?
Well, it kind of went both ways, actually, because I went to a school called Formby High School, which is in Formby, which is in the northwest of England near Liverpool, and we had free orchestras. You could go and join an orchestra for free, and it was fantastic. And we had a really good, what do you call it, a local LEA music department. It was really strong, fantastic people there. There was an orchestra, there was a wind band, and there was a jazz orchestra. It was fantastic. So I joined the orchestra. It was not what I wanted to do for a profession, but and I wasn't good enough as a cellist, that's for sure. But it was lovely. It was brilliant. It gave you that understanding of playing in an orchestra, which is so valuable. And
well, it's an introduction to orchestration for a start, isn't it?
And how it all works and how it fits together, and also the people, the human aspects of it, people together making a noise together is just wonderful. I was so lucky, and I don't know where that stands these days. I don't know whether there's an orchestra that kids in Formby can play in now. I'm not sure, but I'm very grateful for that. And there was a teacher there who inspired me, which maybe we'll talk about that later. But there's a teacher there called Keith Matthews, who conducted the orchestra, who went on to teach me A-level music at sixth form college, and he was brilliant. He was just a force of nature, and one of those teachers you hope you'll get, looking back. He knew so much. He was so clever and full of knowledge, and yet he just sort of let you do your thing. And and didn't sort of try and confine you. Because
Yeah.
the other thing that happened when I was a teenager was I got into writing pop songs. And I had a pop group with my brother, and I wrote an album's worth of stuff, and I found my way to a recording studio in Liverpool, and I recorded it there.
Wow.
With a guy I went on to form a production partnership with for 10 years.
Wowee.
So that was the way in, and I was encouraged in all that, you know. And my parents too, in fact, who didn't know one end of the Beatles album from another, were really encouraging and, you know, helped me do that.
I think the most inspiring people are enablers, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know,
And it takes a lot to enable when you don't understand something, don't you think?
absolutely.
If it's not your thing, but you see that it means something to somebody else, that's you know,
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's a rule for life, isn't it?
I think it's a
Absolutely.
rule for life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. How old were you when you sought out this studio to make this album?
13 or 14.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really young.
I know. And to the credit of the people there, Mike Rose, who I ended up working with, he was canny enough to see that perhaps I had something good going on. I wasn't just a silly kid coming in and going, oh, I want to be a pop star. I wanted to write songs and be in studios, and that was my intro to it. And it was you know, it was fantastic. And it still managed to run in parallel with loving playing the piano and being in orchestras and things like that. But it became the dominant bit for a while, for about 15 years, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it lit your fire.
It lit the fire, definitely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you've made an album by 14.
Yep. No. I mean, let's be clear. And the album was probably when I was 15, 16.
Oh, okay.
It was the intro. You know?
Yeah.
And let's call it a cassette with 10 songs on it, shall we?
Okay.
Very
Well,
nice, that.
yeah, we've all done it.
Yeah, exactly.
But so what happens then? You mentioned A-level music?
Yes,
Sixth form college?
Sixth form college. I did all my A-levels. I was quite academic as a kid, and I was off to read music, and managed to defer my place for a couple of years because I got a job with Pete Waterman, who was
Hang on. So defer your place at sixth form college? Or...
No, a uni.
I was going to say, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
but still pretty young to be getting a placement with the likes of Pete Waterman.
Well, yeah, again, we say a placement. You've got good words for all these things. I made tea, and I occasionally got to play keyboards, but I made tea and I got people their dinner and things. Yeah. But it was my route into the business, you know. I did it for 6 months, and then I signed on, and I sat in my bedroom writing songs for 2 years.
Wow.
And at the end of it, the two of us got a publishing deal. We were off.
So do you feel like that time, that 6 months, you're absorbing how to write a song as well as making tea for everybody?
More the reality of it, you know?
Yeah.
More the what it's like. It was thrilling being in a recording studio. It was really exciting. That was really enough to start with, you know? Yeah. But it also gave me the hunger to do it myself, you know, because you slightly saw that I was obsessed with Stock Aitken Horsemen when I was a kid. I thought they were fantastic. And I still do. Some may disagree, but I'm correct.
You can't argue. You're correct. You will fight anyone.
I will fight anyone who takes me on that. So I was keen to do that, but they were sort of past their prime by then, and it was interesting to see how these things fall apart, really, I guess.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A little bit. And so then I wanted to do it for myself, and I set out a production partner. And it seemed to take an age between moving to London and getting a publishing deal and starting having, you know, records out. It wasn't. It was about 2.5 years, 3 years. It seemed like forever at the time. I don't know. I was really lucky looking back.
You deferred university. Did you actually go in the end?
No?
Just you decided that's what you wanted to do?
Well, I got my publishing deal at the end before, you know, and it was,
Well, you know, you go to uni to increase your chances of getting work.
Yeah, I wouldn't be anti further education in the slightest, and I would have enjoyed it, I know. But it was what I did, and I like that. Looking back, I'm glad I was able to stand up and say, this is what I want to do, and I was lucky to be able to do that. I had supportive parents. I had people around me, and it was okay. And also I was able to sign on for a year and a half. You can't do that now. It was, I was writing pop songs every day, which some might say was a bit of is not productive work, but it led to the next 20, the next
You were
years.
honing your craft. You were creating your products. Same as anyone else. And I think, like you, I don't want to besmirch higher education in the slightest.
No,
I went to
not at
university
all.
and did a degree, but I think maybe in hindsight, me looking back now, if I knew where I would end up, I probably would have done exactly the same thing. If I had an opportunity to go and make coffee for people in a studio, I think the amount that you can pick up there is quite significant, and the networking aspect. You just can't.
The setup is different now, and you didn't have the music courses that now exist. There are some really, really good music courses now. There weren't so many when I was at that age, but I think everyone has a different route, don't they? And
absolutely,
everyone has a different odd set of circumstances that somehow move you through this business. It's odd.
Yeah. So you've got a publishing deal. At what point do you go, right, I'm a songwriter. Oh, hang on, I'm a composer. How does that kind of switch over?
It was, I wrote pop songs or co-wrote pop songs and produced them for 10 years. And it was great. And we did some really good things. And then it sort of felt like the partnership reached its natural conclusion. And I thought, there's got to be other things I want to do than this. There was I love pop music still, but I felt like I'd done what I was going to do in pop music, and it wasn't going to get more interesting or better, or it felt like I wanted to do something else. And as a kid, there was something about writing music for plays, and we used to make videos and that sort of thing. And it was like, well, that's good. That could be fun. Also, my brother was by now getting himself established as a composer, so I had a sort of proof that it could be done.
Yeah,
perhaps. He was starting out, but he was doing great things,
and perhaps saw a window into that world that you really liked.
Yeah. So that would have been after 10, 11 years being a producer, that it sort of started to flip. And then I went into commercials, and that was what I did for the next chunk of time.
Yeah. Wow. There's no easy route, kids. You've just got to get in there and get on with it.
Yeah.
Nice one. Well, Nick, I ask all of my guests to leave an item and a piece of advice in the music room for others to find. I don't know what you've chosen as an item or a piece of advice, but you said it was somewhere in that room.
It's over here. I want to show you, Gareth. It's the MC. I'll do it properly. It's the Roland MC500 Mark II micro composer. It's the best. It's a sequencer, and as a kid, it was all I wanted. And eBay, big praise. You can now get them. That was my brother's, actually, but so he might not know it's here. He will now.
He spent all morning going, "Where's that Roland gone?"
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. It's you program drums in step time, and you record with MIDI. And really, it's not that I want to leave in the music room. It's something to enable people to make music. That's the thing. So probably these days, what would it be? Be Logic, probably.
Yeah. No, I like your physical item.
But it's whatever. It's something to make you able to make music and write music and preserve it. It might be a pencil for somebody else, but I'm sticking with the MC500.
It was a pencil for someone else, actually.
Yeah.
For Daisy Shoot. But I like that it's something that inspired you. So we shall, that's proof that it works. So we'll put that in the music room for you.
Love it. Okay, great.
What advice would you like to leave for others to find?
Best advice I ever got was write something. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's good. It matters in the long run. But that moment where you've got to write, you just have to just do it and not get stuck.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Just write something. Let something come out.
Yeah, it's the biggest fear, isn't it? I've got all this music in my head, but I know it might sound a bit different when it comes out. And then you've got to play it to people. I mean, that's just terrifying, isn't it, really?
But it can really stop you, can't it? All these, there were so many things mitigating against doing what we do. It's amazing. And I'm so lucky to be able to sit and do this, but it's also a bit weird and magical and doesn't quite make sense, does it?
Yeah.
So
the dark arts.
Yeah. So just don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Just get something out.
Yes.
And once you've got something out, maybe something else will come out. Maybe the thing will be brilliant.
You've got a pointer and a marker, got a bit of context then, haven't you?
Yeah, you've started. There's something to talk about. If there's something there, there's a conversation to be had.
Yeah.
And the conversation might be, that's not right, but that's fine. Because then there's something else that will come from it.
I was going to say that it'll give you something to work on as well, because you might realize, actually, that doesn't make any sense. So I need to figure out, my string arrangements or, whatever it is.
Yeah. Or even like bars 9 to 12 are quite good. The rest of it's rubbish, but that bit's good.
Yeah.
I was like writing on the piano, by which I mean the piano connected to the computer, just really, really wildly, and it'll be a mess and it'll be horrible and it'll sound like somebody bashing away, because it's like you then can excavate stuff from it. You can get ideas from it. There are bits and bobs in there. There'll be something in there.
Well, funnily enough, with my last guest, Sherry Chung, we were talking about capture record and just the ability to noodle about and then suddenly go, oh, well, that's good. And then you can just capture record and it's there. That's
one of the greatest inventions. Oh, that was a wonderful little bit. I'm sure I remember when that came in.
Yeah.
When it appeared on Logic. Because it's brilliant, isn't it? You're right. Yeah. You're right. Because then it's there.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Nick Foster, thank you so much for joining me today in the music.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah. I mean, we could go on, couldn't we? But yeah, thank you for joining me in the music room. It's been an absolute joy.
Thanks, Gareth.
Thanks for listening to the Music Room podcast today. If you'd like to know more about the show or the community that surrounds it, head to musicroom.community. The link is in the show notes.